Boring old Chelsea win the Premier League this year, and I'm saying that not because I think they're boring, because that's what all the headlines and all the Chelsea haters are out there saying, because they have won the Premier League very comfortably, and I will go on record and say that all credit goes to Chelsea Football Club, the players in that team, and probably more so to anyone else than Jose Mourinho. What a job he's done this season for Chelsea. I think when they went top of the table, I think it was the second weekend, haven't been moved. Top of the table throughout the whole season, win it with games in hand to spare, and they won it doing what Jose Mourinho does, and that sets out his game plan, a structured team that he always sticks to. He rarely falters between players unless they're injured, that formation that works, and he understands what it takes to win a Premier League trophy. Now, people are asking the question already, similar to what happens with anyone who's under the spotlight winning something. Are they the best? Is Cristiano Ronaldo the best? Is Messi the best? But in this situation, is Jose Mourinho one of the best managers? Is he the special one, as he calls himself? Well, if you look really quick here, we're going to look at the graphic of what he has won so far. It is his accolades at Chelsea. So Premier League trophy 2004, 2005, and then followed up back-to-back 2005, 2006, and then 14 and 15 this year. 1 FA Cup, 3 League Cups, 1 Community Shield, and that one trophy that is not there, which I'm sure he'll want to win, is the Champions League.
So Jose Mourinho has a hell of a trophy cabinet. He's stacking up the Premier League titles, FA Cup. I mean, and he's done a fantastic job with Chelsea, boring or not. They're winners.
Yeah.
Everyone seems to find winners boring. Mayweather wins. Oh, it's a boring fight. Chelsea wins. Oh, they're a boring team. But he's won Champions League with other teams, and he hasn't with Chelsea yet. But that also might be just a major issue with the fact that it doesn't seem like anybody, or literally it wasn't anybody this year from the Premier League who was going to be winning a Champions League. They were all booted a month ago.
Absolutely. And the only thing is that this year they lost to PSG, who, I mean, they were out. I think they were outfought by PSG. They had more heart than them, and that's something that I think Chelsea lacked a little bit in the Champions League. But you can't take anything away from them in the Premier League. They are great. But you make a good point. I think that he will definitely go down in history at the moment as one of the best managers, because he has done it for several different teams. So one team that I want to highlight that people sometimes overlook with Jose Mourinho is he won a UEFA Cup, which is now called the Europa League, and it was a lot more significant back then. He beat Celtic, the team that I love. He beat them in the UEFA Cup final, then went on to win the Champions League back-to-back. He won the Champions League the next year with Porto, a team who lacked resources, who lacked funding, who did not have the same amount of players of star quality like the teams that were around him. He won that with Porto, and that was significant for him, and that put him right up there as one of the best already. He went on in many different teams, went to Chelsea, but then he ended up going to Inter Milan and won the Champions League with a team similar to before, but he still had some star players, but they were not as good as Barcelona, who they beat in that. They were not as good as Bayern Munich, who they beat, but through his tactical knowledge and the way he plays against his teams and exploits their weaknesses, this is why he's one of the best. Now, we're going to look really quick at the graphic which shows him in comparison to other managers around him. If you look here, one of the most notable, of course, is Sir Alex Ferguson. And this is just on games compared to how much they've won in comparison with everything else. And Sir Alex Ferguson is still, for me, the best manager to have ever lived at the moment. And not to say that Jose Mourinho can never catch him, because he's still in his youth in terms of managerial experience. But Sir Alex Ferguson is just phenomenal.
How do you beat a guy who's been knighted?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. And how do you beat a Scottish guy who's been knighted?
If it becomes Sir Jose Mourinho, I guess maybe, just maybe. No, first of all, I find that fascinating, because I don't know about any American sports coaches who have been knighted, and I pray to God Bill Belichick is not the first guy that becomes that, because Sir Bill Belichick just sounds terrible. Sir Alex Ferguson sounds he's very elegantly named right there.
And Sir Alex, the thing about him is he is most notable for his time at Manchester United. He turned them into the dynasty that they were. No, I don't want to say are, because they are still, of course, a dynasty. They're still an unbelievable team, but they're nowhere near as superior as they were before. And he made them feared by any team that played at Old Trafford. Barcelona, Real Madrid. He won the Champions League in a memorable night against Bayern Munich, in which they were down with seconds to go, and they come back and won one of the most memorable occasions. They won, beating Chelsea later on. And he has won Champions League. He's won an enormous amount of Premier League trophies as well. I can't remember the exact number, but there's a reason why he is probably considered the best manager to have ever lived. However, it depends what way you look at it, because he's consistent with Manchester United, but you've got Mourinho now, who's got La Liga titles, he's got Serie A titles, he's got the Portuguese league, he's got Champions Leagues for different teams. He spreads his wealth across. He tries to be as good as a manager as he can be for different teams in different countries. So he perhaps is the best all-round manager there's ever been. That could be a fair argument.
There's something special when it comes to the fact that when you can win with different clubs, it's the same thing that crosses over into American sports. It's very difficult to win any kind of championship. It's exponentially more difficult to win it with 2 clubs, with 3 clubs, because certain systems work on certain teams with certain players. And the one thing I noticed about Chelsea this season, Diego Costa started off on the hottest on form when it came to, he was keeping the ball low, as we talked about with our good friend Alan Russell, and how he was able to, again, use Mourinho's tactics to his advantage within scoring distance, keep it low, and score. And he scored in an insane run of form for, I think, 10 straight games he was scoring. And then slowly, Costa, still the amazing player that is, kind of faded away as Eden Hazard. Starts to get mentions into the Premier League Player of the Year, which he won. Right, and you feel like, what happened to Costa? It seems like, at least from just the fans' perspective, my perspective of the sport that I've now begun to grow and watch, like when you can have different guys step up at the right times, it's really hard to beat those kind of systems. The Spurs made this work for the NBA, Tim Duncan's Spurs, for years on end, until this year where they just fell short. But in the past 5 of the NBA's 15 last championships.
Yeah, and that's a fair point to bring out, especially with mentioning Hazard and Costa, because I was asked on 120 Sports when I was on there as an analyst, what makes Mourinho so good? And it's because I think he brings out the best in his players. He's a very good man-manager. He protects his players at all costs. When you see him in the media, he rarely turns on his own players for their lack of discipline around the field. He puts on himself. He'll be like, okay, it's me, I'm the special one, it's my fault, blah, blah, blah. Puts it on other people. He'll blame other people, don't get me wrong. He's good at deflecting. But he's a good man-manager. He understands the best to get it out of his players. You look at Hazard this year, he's getting better and better. Cesc Fabregas coming from a troublesome time at Barcelona. Unbelievable season. Diego Costa, horrendous World Cup, to say the least, comes in and has a great first season for Chelsea. He knows John Terry looked rejuvenated at the back. He looked phenomenal.
They had 3 on the All-Premier League team. 3 of the 4
defenders.
So when you have a stonewall defense, it's kind of hard to score.
And that's what Mourinho's built his team on before. When you look at Inter Milan, he had an unbelievable defence there. And I remember one notable clip which probably summarises what he means to his players as Materazzi, an Italian defender, in absolute tears, crying after Mourinho won the Champions League, because he knew he was moving on to Real Madrid. He was distraught that he was going away, because that's what makes him such a good man-manager. Now, we can't say that he's the best ever without, briefly towards the end of this clip, just mentioning some of the other ones who, in my view, could be the best, because we have this culture of managers are now getting so much younger. You get Pep Guardiola, who's young, who's coming up. He's already won trophies with Barcelona. Could potentially win Champions League this year with Bayern Munich, a great team. He's got many accolades.
He punches the air more than any other coach.
Yeah, he's very aggressive.
Yes.
He's a good character.
I respect that.
He's got many similar traits to Jose Mourinho. He protects his team, like he's received the whole doctor situation. That might have been a way just to deflect from his team's performance.
Creative.
The doctor leaves and he wins 6-1 in the next game, you know what I mean? And he's a very good manager. Diego Simeone, I will say right now, will be one of the best managers around, because he turned an Atletico team who are just almost a feeder club, sending players elsewhere, the Real Madrid, Barca, across seas, turned them into a hard team to beat.
I saw Arsene Wenger was on the bottom of that list that was there too, and Carlo Ancelotti.
Yeah, of course. There's a bunch of great managers out there. I just think that Jose Mourinho at this moment in time, because of the way he acts with the media and how he calls himself the special one, people want to ask this question because they want to turn around and be like, no, he's not. There's no way, because people love to hate him as well as they love to love him. But at the moment, for me, there's still many different managers in there in the history of football that go way beyond either of our time. We've got Clough, who won a Champions League with Nottingham Forest, a famous British manager, just obviously in the name there. But Sir Alex Ferguson, for me, still just remains as the best manager, not just because he's Scottish, Jason. I know that's what you're thinking, but he's a Sir, and he's Scottish. He's Sir Scottish Alex.
Name 3 other famous Scotsmen before we leave.
Andy Murray.
Not bad.
Colin Montgomery.
Okay.
Golfer.
Ewan McGregor?
Ewan McGregor's got tons of actors, man. We could be here all night. Gerard Butler is not really that famous, but he's a Celtic,
said it.
he's a Celtic fan.
Yes.
Gerard Butler. That's the first I've ever said that on camera. You used to always get me to say that.
It's my favorite thing in the world.
Well, what do you guys think? Jose Mourinho, the best ever? Leave your comments and questions in the section below, and we will do our best to get to every single question you guys leave, because that's what we do here at TYT Sports. Make sure to subscribe. It is absolutely free, and come back for more.